Imagine a situation where someone is incarcerated, convinced that an error, perhaps a constitutional one, occurred during their trial. They feel their conviction is unjust, and they seek a way to challenge it. How does our legal system provide a pathway for such a challenge, especially if new information comes to light that points to their innocence? Generally speaking, actual innocence is not a standalone requirement for obtaining habeas corpus relief. The purpose of habeas corpus is primarily to challenge the legality of one's detention, focusing on constitutional errors or jurisdictional defects in the trial process, rather than to relitigate guilt or innocence. The core mechanism of habeas corpus petitions in the United States federal system is to ensure that a person is not held in violation of the Constitution or federal laws. This means a petitioner typically must identify specific constitutional flaws in their state trial, such as a violation of the Sixth Amendment right to effective counsel or a 14th Amendment due process breach. Over time, courts have introduced procedural bars, such as statutes of limitations or rules against successive petitions, to prevent endless litigation. This is where the concept of actual innocence plays a pivotal, albeit indirect, role. It serves as a narrow exception or a gateway to overcome these procedural hurdles, rather than being the direct basis for relief itself. For someone considering a habeas corpus petition, understanding this distinction is crucial. The primary focus should be on identifying specific constitutional violations that occurred during the original trial. However, if significant new and compelling evidence of actual innocence emerges, it can be presented to argue for an exception to those procedural bars. This would allow a federal court to hear the underlying constitutional claims even if the petition was filed late or was a successive petition, which would normally be disallowed. This concept is often referred to as the actual innocence gateway or the Schlupp gateway, stemming from the Supreme Court's decision in Schlupp v. Dello. To pass through this gateway, a petitioner must present new reliable evidence that was not available at trial, demonstrating that it is more likely than not that no reasonable juror would have convicted them in light of the new evidence. This is a very high standard, reflecting the federal court's respect for state court judgments and the finality of convictions. Meeting this standard means proving not just that the evidence might raise a doubt, but that it definitively undermines the original verdict. Ultimately, while actual innocence itself is not the direct legal ground for habeas corpus, its critical function as a narrow gateway illustrates the justice system's deep-seated concern for preventing a manifest miscarriage of justice. It offers a rare but vital mechanism for individuals to present compelling new evidence of innocence, allowing courts to consider their underlying constitutional claims and ensuring fundamental fairness in the face of procedural limitations.